So yeah, you better not have an ego, because if you tell everyone, yeah, I'm going to finish and do a time, and then I
Yeah.
quit. If you focus on what is going wrong, you're gonna break.
So I started to do a lot more zone 2
What is
training.
zone 2?
Oh my god.
I
And
think that's the zone where every runners refuse to go because it's too slow.
it's where
They ate too much carbs too
Ugh.
fast, and the body cannot just digest that anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, it would have been helpful for you to tell me that before this race, wouldn't you? 'Cause
next time,
I
next time.
was when the pain is so bad, it's all that your brain can focus on. It's like, who am I gonna be in those moments? What choices do I want to make?
You don't care about being healthy because you're burning so many calories. It does not matter. Like, you need fast energy, so you can go with those cravings.
The front of
Women
the
are
bag.
more down to earth and smart, I think.
Yeah.
All right, ready? Exciting. All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Mathieu Edin, and you are listening to Everyday Heroes, the podcast where you're going to hear the stories of extraordinary athletes doing the most amazing things. This is the place for them to tell their stories. And today I am with Amy. She is an ultra trailer that started running not so long ago. Running is for her a lifeline and also a source of healing. I had the chance to run with her in the Azores Ultra Trail, and she is an absolute beast of strength and resilience. But she's also a very humble and kind person, and I think that resonates with the way she's approaching sport. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
How did I describe you?
Very kindly. Thank you.
Glad to hear this. All right. So, Amy, as I mentioned, you've run the Azores Ultra Trail. And so, for the people that doesn't know, this race takes place in the Azores Island, so in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So you were to complete 118 kilometers with over 5,000 meters of elevation.
Mhm.
And on top of that, a storm hit the island that day during the race. So I'm sure this was one of the hardest day of your life. Can you tell me about it and what this has taught you?
Sure. So yes, signed up for the 120K. Um, I ended up getting stopped at 96 kilometers because the storm had taken over and other runners were turning themselves in. Um, it was at the 92-kilometer aid station I realized it was getting quite bad, and that was halfway up the volcano. And as I left that aid station, I was freezing. I was completely wet. My waterproof jacket had failed. I didn't have enough gear on me to stay warm. The only tool I had was to keep moving. So I chose to leave that aid station super quickly, keep moving. And then it was about 4 kilometers later, just before I traversed the rim of the volcano, that I got pulled back by the people on foot. They came back down and they said, "You shouldn't go. It's too dangerous. You can't see your hand even when it's in front of your face. The wind is brutal. It's freezing. It's really exposed, really technical trail. It's not safe." I just stood there in sort of disbelief. Um, I couldn't quite, I'd been going for 20 hours at that point. I couldn't quite understand what to do. I hadn't really prepared for this as an eventuality or as a problem that I'd have to solve during the race. And I said to them, "But we've come so far, shouldn't we try?" And one of the women just said, "No, it's clearly too dangerous." And I was like, uh my head was sort of like, "Okay, this could be good for us. This could let us stop running." My heart was like, "Absolutely not. No way does our race end like this, and here I'd said to myself, if I get to 80K, I am going to finish this, because if I can do 2 marathons, I can do a third. And I knew that I'd caught up so much time in the day because I'd had a really fast 30K between 50 and 80, that I was well enough ahead of the cutoff to walk if I had to, the remainder of it, and I would still have got through in the time limit. Um, and I froze. I mean, I was physically pretty frozen by that point, but equally, I got a bit of decision paralysis, and I didn't know what to do. Like, do I listen to people and go and take the safe route, or do I carry on and try for myself? And I called my best friend and just started crying down the phone to her. And she was tracking me online, and she said, "There's a couple of guys ahead of you. I'll support you whatever you want to do. If you wanna try and catch them up, I'll stay on the phone to you throughout the whole next until the next aid station if you want." Um, like, you but or equally, it's not a failure if you stop here, 'cause my head definitely at that moment, doubt came through, and it was like, if you stop, it's the easy route out, or you've let yourself down, or you haven't followed through on the commitment that you promised yourself that you would finish this. And I knew in my soul that I could finish it, and I'd known all along from since signing up that I knew that I would finish it, whatever came. Um, an hour later, the race director and his team had checked the course and said, "Okay, we'll open it back up for you if you want to go," because they knew that I'd been so determined. But by that point, my body had sort of shut down a bit, and I was just shaking uncontrollably. They had to they had to very kindly tell me my
Mm.
race was done.
Okay, well, what a day, yeah.
Yeah.
It was hard for for everyone, I think.
Yeah.
Um, for this kind of ultra distance,
Mhm.
I think mind work plays a crucial role because in the
Mm.
end, your body most of the time is not the limiting factor,
Mhm.
is the mind that will tell you to
Mhm.
stop unless you don't listen to it.
Yep.
Um, so when those very hard moments happen, when you struggle the most during the race,
Mhm.
what helps you push through? But I
Mhm.
think it's the support of your friends, right?
Yeah, that is definitely a huge one. So, in the run up to the race, I knew that I would have to find ways to make my brain my teammate, and find some support in that effort, because it's not something that comes very naturally to me. So I had spent as much time on the mental and emotional preparation as I did the physical. So I started building out a whole list of mantras, um, and phrases and statements that I would have around my apartment, that I would have in my phone. I put a call out to all of my friends to send me words of encouragement, and I had a tiny little notepad with me, and each page had words on from friends or some of the mantras that I'd developed myself, so that I knew that when my brain was faltering or needed some support, I would have that. Had messages coming through. I also had watched so many YouTube and documentaries on that race specifically, other races, amateurs, first timers, pros, the goats of the sport. And I I had really kind of understood that this experience was not easy for anyone. It was everyone has to find their own ways through those dark moments. So I had external support, and I'd put effort into that. I asked all my friends to build me a playlist and contribute to it, and I was
That's super nice.
it was so cool. I was blown away. They had over 30 hours of tunes on there, and it was just incredible. So I had that to turn to. And then also within myself, because with something like this, yeah, it's yes, there's a physical element. Yes, you have to be in a certain shape and form to be able to get to the start line even. But it's absolutely the mental that's going to drive you through. And there were two things that helped me. One was it was an act and a journey that felt so aligned with my core, with my true self, who is someone that I'm investing so much energy in trying to get to know and to love right now. And I had this, like I said earlier, I had this just knowing, this inner knowing that I was going to do this, whatever happened. And I know that I did that as far as I could. And then the second was that I made a conscious choice to choose lightness in every moment and not darkness. So I would just find a way to find lightness. And that's what got me through the really dark,
Yeah,
difficult.
I think this is I agree so much on what you just said because one of the most powerful thing you can do in order to endure
Mhm.
very long efforts and in order to trick your mind to go through it
Mhm.
is really to um, shift the framework because if you focus on what is going wrong you're gonna break,
Yeah.
whereas if you shift to other perception like yeah being out in the fantastic nature, having a laugh with the staff, trying to still enjoy yourself. I
Mhm.
think this is the way you're gonna not give up and keep on going. I think that's the most powerful thing you can do. Yeah,
Yeah.
you are answering my questions before I'm asking them.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, because I wanted to ask the why behind this, but you kind of said it's because it's aligned with what you truly
Mhm.
are. But I want to ask also, could it be also with maybe the taste of challenge, being out in the nature, finding your true self? I think you already said it, but could it be like a little bit the challenge or the being out in the nature?
Yeah, I think it's all those things, and I think it's all those things, and I didn't realize it was those things when I signed up. Genuinely, I signed up on such a whim. I really, really thought that I would, um, do a marathon for my 40th because I'd only ever run halves before, and I'd really only been regularly running for about 2 years, and by regularly, I mean 5K 3 times a week on flat out by the river, um, and so I thought even a marathon felt quite scary and quite huge, um and when I signed up to this, I did not realize or understand all these things that it would bring me that felt so aligned. Like I didn't understand it at the time. It was just all all I can think is signing up to this was some kind of it was meant to be. It was some kind of the stars aligning without my rational brain able to understand it or see it in the moment. And being out in nature for hours each week, disconnected from my phone, or if I am connected to my phone, it's really intentional consumption as opposed to just being on my phone. So it's a choice of a podcast or an audiobook or music that brings me joy or helps me learn or something. Um, the challenge, I think I fall into the trap and have done my entire life of staying small, keeping myself stuck, self-sabotage. Most, I'm sure most people can relate to that. I think I'm a fairly extreme example of it. And so to do something so outrageous, I can see now I needed something that was so far outside of my like frame of comprehension and my world.
Comfort zone? No.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, exactly. Way out of my comfort zone physically, mentally. It an adventure. I needed a massive adventure,
nice.
and yeah.
And what was your best memory during this race?
For me, it was the people, the community. Really felt so safe, and that allowed me to really feel so free during the run because I just never had to question that there were people there. There was always a smile. There was always people clapping. Even through the middle of the night, people came out with cowbells and their kids to smile and cheer you on. People were obviously tracking. And so when I was running through, because I was towards the back of the pack, they'd even know my name and they were like, Forza Amy, Forza Amy,
Forza, forza.
Forza, Forza. So it was just that warmth and welcoming and provision of safety meant I felt so secure and looked after that I could really just see it as a giant adventure. So yeah.
Okay, cool. And so you said before you were running on flats. So now
Mm.
you came into this beautiful journey of trail, ultra trail.
Yeah.
How did you train for it? Like, can you tell me about like yeah the ins and outs, but also how many hours a week are we talking about? Because
Mm.
I'm sure it's going to be a lot. And how did you manage to balance between this and your work, your social life? Did you do any kind of strength training? And also, how did you avoid injury, or maybe did you injure yourself?
Yes, so it was a complete learning journey. So I was teaching myself everything from scratch and learning from scratch. So I signed up last October, um, which gave me 6 months. So 6 months from 21K on road to 120K with 5,000 elevation was pretty punchy.
I guess you like challenge.
I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm all or nothing. Um, and so I learnt about zone 2 training. So I started to do a lot more zone 2
What is
training.
zone two?
Oh my god.
I
And
think that's the zone where every runners refuse to go because it's too slow.
it's where the
but for
ego goes to
yeah,
die.
but for a trail, it's so important to go there.
Yeah, so important. I couldn't believe it. At times it was a walk for me at that point in time, and I was suddenly like, "Oh wow, this is quite hard." Um, I I'd searched for beginner just finished training plans for 100K, and I took a few and amalgamated them. I created this huge spreadsheet. Um, So I knew that there were these kind of 4 phases of training, which is like base, build, peak, race, kind of taper race. And I knew that I had to build my base and my zone 2. I also knew that I had to start doing more specific strength training. Um, Equally, movement had become such an important tool for me in life for mental health and just joy, that I kept up my usual routine of bar, boot camp, spin as well, because that rhythm, those rituals in my day and week were so important to me that I didn't want to give those up. So I just tried to add more running on top of it. But really, you would probably look at my Strava and be like, there's no way that that she runs 100K. But it's because I'm building from scratch. I know that I'm a baby beginner ultra trail runner.
Yeah, and
And
also it also depends on your objective because if your objective was to finish, it's way different than running for a time, for
yeah,
example. Mm.
exactly, exactly. So really, I knew what I had to do in a conceptual way in terms of strength, specificity of terrain, more trail running, more zone 2, and start to work on recovery and nutrition as well. Um, I managed to do some in the run up to Azores. I did do some sort of 75 to 90K weeks on top of the rest of my exercise. I didn't have any niggles, any injuries. I did some marathons. I did a 50K, but that was on flat. And then I would just go out into Sintra and just try and climb the gnarliest trail I could find and go up and down and up and down. Um,
This is there is an expression for that when people have not access to that much elevation is
yeah.
doing the hamster.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Right, you
yeah.
do up and down and up and down on the same route that has a
Yeah,
lot of elevation because you
yeah,
need to get that elevation during the training.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's no way I trained enough or enough specificity for this race. Like I didn't leave myself enough time to build, but that's why the mental side and the kind of alignment side was so strong for me. That really carried me through and really kind of made up for what I lacked, say, in physical. But equally, it's it was so cool to then learn to come away from that race and be like, okay, now I have some information about what I need to work on, and I've now experienced it. Now I have motivation to keep building and build towards the next one. Because during the race, like, I had not done anywhere near enough climbing in my training. My hips started hurting at 20K because there was so much elevation instantly. And so I was in pain for like, what, 80K because my hips had just never climbed that much.
Welcome to ultra training. Eh?
And
And so you said the peak was like 80, 90 kilometers a week, right? How many hours a week are we talking about?
I was running for like 10 to 15 hours in those weeks.
And how did you manage between work, life, and this?
So I now don't have a social life. This is now
I
my
I
personality.
don't have friends anymore.
I don't have friends.
I decided to
Don't
not see
have a
them.
job. No, I do. I am very rich in time. I may not be rich in money, but I'm rich in time. I was training maybe 20, 25 hours a week when you add in like all the recovery plus all my gym classes plus all the running. And I know that that's like a huge amount of
Yeah,
time.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
Also, can you tell me how important the nutrition was during the race? Because for people that don't know, we are talking about maintaining an effort for at least 12 hours. Yeah, how long did it take you for the full thing?
I was moving for 18, total time 20 by
Yeah.
the time I got stopped,
So
including aid stations.
so you have to get your body what it needs. So how did it work for you?
Yeah, so this was another thing that I'd worked on and was teaching myself from scratch. And basically, my simple rule during training was just try and eat on every run, but eat proper food. So I would take things like chocolate croissants on my runs. I would stop in my runs to have a espresso and a pastel de nata, and then keep going. And so actually, I felt really good on that front. And because I'd sort of tried gels maybe once or twice for my half marathon.
So wait, you run your trail without gel?
Yeah, I have since used them a couple of times, but I really don't. Mostly so now I use a drink mix, so Tailwind, which is carb and
Yeah.
salts, Cliff Bars,
Oh, you have the bars.
and
Okay.
other
All
bars.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were not eating, well, consuming. I don't think you can eat the gel. I thought you were not consuming any gels or any bars, but only eating at the aid station. I was like, what?
No, no,
Like
no,
I
no.
was eating croissant and and drinking coffee at the
Yeah,
aid station. Like what?
that was like
Like that would be a first, honestly.
No, I was, but to be honest, I struggled. At the beginning of the race, I was so anxious. I was definitely, and I really felt it between 20 and 30K. I was really underfueled because I got really anxious. I felt a bit nauseous, and I just didn't. I didn't know what to eat at the aid station. I was so overwhelmed. But then I sorted it out, and then mostly I did mostly I did just eat at the aid station, and
Mm.
I carried so many bars and so many electrolytes, and I could have made life a lot easier for myself
Mm.
and had a much lighter pack.
Because I think this is an interesting point. Because when you are really craving food in those kind of efforts,
Mm.
your eyes and body will naturally tell you what to eat. Like if you are craving donuts, like for example, I,
Mm.
I would say, well, eat those because this is what you really want,
Yeah,
and you don't care about being healthy because you're burning so many calories. It does not matter. Like you need fast energy, so you can go with those cravings.
yeah.
But during, it's super, super important to have like a very solid nutrition strategy, like every X minutes, could be every 60 minutes, every 45 minutes, depending. I'm eating this like on the way in because it's a really steep,
Yeah,
how do you call this?
the
A
climb.
very steep climb.
Yeah.
I'm eating gel because it's easier for me to consume. When I'm going down, I have more time so I can switch to bars and switch like that,
Mm.
And also, as you are training, you test your fueling strategy beforehand, so you know how much carbs you need
Mm.
each hour, because for people it can varies from 40 to like 120 grams an hour, but this is
Mm.
for the pro. And also very important to test this before, because if you fuck this up, then you're going to have a lot of stomach pain and stomach problem, which can basically ruin your race. Because the data, they don't lie, the number one factor of people giving up on races is because they have stomach pain, or
Yeah.
they have
Digestive
gastric
issues.
issues. Yeah,
Mhm.
because basically they ate too much carbs too
Mm.
fast, and the body cannot just digest that anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, it would have been helpful for you to tell me that before this race, Matthew, because
next time,
I
next time.
was just going for a run and having a pastel de nata.
Yeah, but I also did it like in between aid station when I was training.
Yeah,
I was also, seeing like a coffee shop or whatever, and I was okay. Let's go for pastelada.
yeah,
Why not?
yeah.
But during, probably not while I'm running. I'm not gonna go for the pastel, but
Someone needs to invent pastel that can be, like, taken on ultras because they don't come in a right form yet, so
maybe. Anyway.
yeah, it's to be honest, it's something I need to work on and keep learning and training, because you're right, the more I understand about this sport, particularly at the top level, at the elite level, they are so specific with their nutrition strategy, with the grams per hour, the sodium per hour. They know exactly when they need to be taking the gels, what type of gels, when they're gonna have caffeine, and that is not something I had. I just tried to eat when I was hungry and tried to keep eating and force myself to keep eating.
Yeah, for sure. Super, super important. Well, next time you're gonna know for next time. Hey guys, I am an endurance coach and I train runners to complete their first trail injury-free. Everyday Heroes is the podcast, but it's also a private coaching tailored to you and based on science. For a limited time, I offer you a free call to help you build your training plan. The link is in the description. And now back to the episode. Um, anyway, so you started running not so long ago,
Mm.
and well, for beginners, I think ultra is quite scary, right? So, what made you realize that you were capable of tackling such a challenge?
Um, Great question. Uh, well, so there is some stats on ultras. So I'm really going down this hole right now, and I'm reading a great book called Ultra Women. And there's stats that show that it is quite gendered in the approach to signing up and undertaking an ultra. And so men tend to be much bolder in signing up to the bigger distances and then figuring it out. But equally, they also tend to overestimate their capability and maybe don't have as sensible pacing strategies, go out quite fast.
Yeah, I think this is so true.
Yeah, right? And then
Like men go
women,
like, okay.
yeah, right? And they're like time
Yeah.
goal, and they try and keep
Yeah,
up with the front
women
and the
are
back.
more down to earth and smart, I think.
Yeah, and then this research which comes from race directors is that women ask loads of questions. They will sign up to the shortest route first, and even then they still have loads of questions because they need that level of information to plan really well and feel in control. And so honestly, what happened here is, like, when I signed up for this, I changed my personality for in this moment, and I acted like a man because, like I said, I essentially was thinking about doing a marathon for my 40th to celebrate having, for the first time in my life, built a consistent exercise routine over the period of 2 years. Again, I'm talking like 3 5Ks a week plus a spin class and a bar class. It really wasn't like this huge amount. Running really wasn't that dominant in my life at that point in time, but I wanted to do something to take it to the next level. I knew that I wasn't excited by half marathons anymore. I went on a first date with a guy that had just run a 100K race, and on that first day I shook hands to sign up to 100K because he was like, why do a marathon, do 100K? And this like ego in me
Peer
suddenly was
pressure.
like, okay, yeah, fine, all right, if you can do an ultra, I can do an ultra.
Okay, that's cool.
And then I became a man and just went and signed up for 120K
Okay,
elevation volcanic
really
island.
cool. And speaking of which, like, because I think for many runners, ultras
Yeah.
feels like an enormous challenge.
Mm.
So, what could you say? What could you tell to those people that that they always dream on the back of their head to do some
Mm.
crazy things like that,
Mm.
but never really dare to take the first
Mm.
step?
Um, I think there's probably a bit of a misunderstanding around the effort of an ultra or how it compares, say, to a half marathon or a marathon. So a lot of people will have a focus in their life of running and trying to get faster and trying to beat their times at those kind of 10K, 20K marathon distances. Which is amazing and such a cool goal to have, and you'll really like feel yourself get stronger and faster in that process. But I think it's then there's something in the brain that doesn't then change the effort level or the type of effort as the distances then build from marathon on, which is ultra, anything beyond marathon, right? So standard starts at 50K, but it is a completely different type of effort because you walk a lot, particularly up the hills. It's zone 2. It's what we were talking about. It's lower effort, but it's more sustained. It's on trail, not road. So you are in nature and you are having this like beautiful adventure. You're essentially given a free pass and told, okay, go and run around this island or this mountain and we will feed you as much sugar as you want whenever we see you. We've laid
All
the
the
path
pastel, the
out,
tata that you
all
want.
the pastel, all the coffee you want, all the Coca-Cola you want. We've laid out the route for you. All you have to do is follow these flags and then you'll get a medal at the end. And that is a very, very different experience from pushing yourself for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours on road in your kind of top heart rate levels to achieve a marathon. So I think what would be amazing is if more people could talk about kind of the accessibility. I totally get it that in the head 50K or plus just seems like it's like that's so far. When I told my friends that I was going to do the ultra, one replied and said, I can't even be bothered to drive that far. And she was like, that's like me driving from my house to Birmingham in the UK. And no, I can't even be bothered. And I get it, if that's your frame of reference, then it feels way too far. But when you put it into the context of you are eating throughout, you are supported, you are not running at your top pace the entire time. It is an endurance effort, but it's an adventure. It's ultimately being a kid again and having an adventure in nature.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like it's kind of I have to go from point A to point B. I it's the first time, so it's really, the mystery of the road,
Yeah.
and I have to get there at
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah.
Where is the exit? I don't
Yeah.
know. You tell me.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
it's again my next question that you kind of answered again. That's okay. Because it was like some people, actually, many people think that ultra trail is kind of crazy
Yeah.
because, like, they can't, yeah, as your friend said to you, like, she can't be bothered to drive this long for 50K. So,
Yeah.
like, and you're doing the double distance, like, what?
Yeah.
So, what would you say to them, like, and to kind of convince them? Because, there is a lot of pain and suffering. So, what's your relationship with pain and suffering also with it?
Mm. I mean, the first thing would be I will now be for the rest of my life the biggest advocate for this as an adventure, as a process, as a journey. But if you do not like running or walking or hiking, then like ultra is not going to be for you. Like, don't force yourself to do something.
Can you imagine, like, I don't like running and I hate nature, but yeah, I'm gonna do an ultra. All right.
I mean, you should ask that person what their relationship with pain and suffering is, because
Yeah,
they're on another.
probably, probably a lot of pain in their life.
Yeah, exactly. But for me, it's again, I'm so grateful that this random encounter happened that kind of showed me that this was even a thing, and that were people out there doing it. But I knew after I'd signed up, I started watching all the documentaries, and I was just so entranced, and um I felt so empowered by everyone, the pros, the amateurs, something about this sport, the way people approach it, the things and the feelings and the energy and the accomplishments that it gives people. Something really, really spoke to me about that, in terms of this is something that's going to be really helpful for us. It's something that really sparks joy and curiosity. And, we joked about it, me acting like a man signing up on a whim, but uh, in reality, I something I do struggle with is turning intention into action. And here I have had none of that. I have had such a bold willingness to try to learn everything from scratch. And I do think that you need to want to do it, because otherwise you will stop at the first aid station when you get given that opportunity. You will stop at the first sign of pain in your body. You will stop when your brain says, are we running from a bear? Because if not, let's stop. It's you definitely have to want to be there, because if you can't enjoy it and find lightness and have a reason to push through the pain and see what you can do, then you are physically just punishing yourself, and that's not a kind thing. That's not a kind way to treat yourself. But for me, it has presented a path that I didn't know I needed, but I'm so happy to have found.
Yeah, I think you need to have some kind of relationship with pain and being okay with the amount of pain that you inevitably going to feel during the race.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. It is, yeah. Someone told me actually when I was talking about this, I was chatting to a friend about it, And he said, you have got to stop being so positive about it. Not in an unkind way, but he was like, you've also got to tell the story of how hard and how painful it is, because I'm just like, oh my God, it's amazing. Like, so much
Yeah,
fun.
but that's also personally the thing that uh, attracts me with this is how am I going to react to pain, and how I am going to go through it, because I think this is
Mm,
also a way to find yourself and to grow, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, I think
Mm,
you're exactly right. And I think that's to have that curiosity of what can I achieve? What can I, what can I do and who can I be when it gets tough, when it gets really hard, or when
mm.
problems hit me, when my headlamp dies in the middle of a wood at night,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
when the pain is so bad, it's all that your brain can focus on. It's like, who am I going to be in those moments? What choices do I want to make? And so, yeah, you're right. Actually, it's a very good question for anyone thinking about ultra to ask themselves. Like, what's my relationship with pain and
Mm.
suffering, and what do I want to learn through my pain and
Yeah,
suffering?
for sure. And also, you have it hard to, well, you again kind of go around the subject, but not too much. So, okay, it's okay. It's okay. So, you have it hard to encourage women to go in training. What would you tell to a woman that wants to start? And what is the unique challenge that you think women are facing more compared to men?
Hmm. Yeah, so I think I would love to introduce more women to this, just to try it, to see if they can discover something that they enjoy, even if it turns into a love of hiking or, shorter trail races. It doesn't have to lead to ultras. I think for me, my challenges with it, particularly when it came to training, was taking myself out into a national park on my own. I was super intimidated. I still do. I had a run a couple of weeks ago where I just felt so anxious all the time that I couldn't relax, because I was so hyper aware that I was on my own. And it's not even that remote here. You're never that far from life or a road or something, but the just the there just is an added safety factor, I think, for women that a lot of us carry with us, even if it's not always conscious. That is, I am a woman. I feel vulnerable when I'm on my own, particularly if you're then in a forest. You don't know who you're going to encounter, or sometimes it's scarier not to encounter anyone. And there's really, there's moments where, or there's runs I've had where, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. One thing I love about being on the trails is that everyone says hello to everyone, so it becomes this like friendly
Yeah, that's so
bubble.
nice.
So
But I
nice.
think that's a mountain thing, not only trail. Because whenever
Yeah.
you're out there in the wild in the mountain, it's kind of rare to to cross someone. So whenever you do, like, hey, how are you? And also like, are you okay? Because I had this countless time, like people look at me, and I wasn't struggling, but I was having a training. It was like, you okay? You have enough water? And, no, no, no. Actually, no. Fun fact. One day I was training along the coast around Cabo da Roca, right? And so what I did is I went from Sintra to Azeñas do Mar, and then from Azeñas do Mar to Cabo da Roca, or Guincho, I think. No, Guincho. So all the coastline. It wasn't that hot. So at the end, like I was at the aid station, like which was a cafe, and I thought, all right, I've got enough water. And then the sun came out, and it got super hot, and I was heavily dehydrated. And thank God I met those like three guys. They saw that I was having a hard time, and they immediately gave me water. And also snacks that I think I still have.
So
So that
nice.
was so nice. Yeah.
Yeah, people are so kind. Um, and I love that about it. But equally, there is a part of my head that's like, I hope they remember you if something happens, or okay, I've seen that couple or a family there, or that was a group of guys, or that was a woman on her own. There just is this safety thing. I can't talk for every woman, but it's something that I've felt very specifically. And having talked to friends, I don't know, would you ever consider that, going out on your own? Would you
Me?
ever be worried about being on your own and who you might meet? Or
No,
yeah,
I like going out on my own,
yeah,
and whenever I could think of this scenario,
yeah.
I think of myself, yeah, but he's facing me, so that's okay.
You back yourself.
Yeah, I can bite if I want.
Yeah. Okay.
No, no, really, like when, especially at night, when I have the headlight,
Yeah,
it's scary at night, of
yeah,
course, because whatever you don't see is scary.
yeah.
And I think, but yeah, but that's the same for the guy that's gonna face me also. Like he doesn't know who I am. Maybe he would think that I'm a psycho or whatever. So I should be friendly as well, actually.
So yeah, so I think this is a very different that I think this is a gender difference for sure, because I've asked other guys and they're exactly the same and would happily go out and do night training on their own, and just there just is an extra danger element to it as a woman. And then I think the other thing is like navigation. I've had to learn that from scratch. I had to get a good enough watch that would allow me to follow the route and be good enough in all weathers and have the right GPS and everything. And I just think, so I've spoken to a few women about this who love running and are like curious about trail or thinking about trying it, but they're like, I wouldn't really know where to start. I wouldn't, like, where would I go? What would I do? They maybe have that concept of, hold on, I do all my runs at this pace, and they might have that same expectation of themselves on the trails. So then they'd end up like trying to run all the hills and burning themselves out and having a bad time. So it's just, I just feel like, so I've experienced the power of it for me, and I would love to share that and just be that kind of enabler or door opener if they're curious and just want to try it, but without those worries.
That's so nice because I feel it's linking to my next question again.
Yeah.
You are in the way of maybe one day becoming a role model for the beginners that wants to step into the world of ultra trail.
Good luck.
And I want to ask, like, because you mentioned in the previous questions, what role do the role model like Courtney Dolewater, play in inspiring women to take on ultra trails?
Yeah, I think they're amazing, honestly. I think,
Hold on, let me rephrase the question because I'm hearing myself and I know I made a lot of English mistakes.
okay,
Okay, sorry,
I didn't hear
it
that.
doesn't make sense. Okay, so I want to ask, what role do female role model such as Courtney Dowaller play in inspiring women to take on ultra trails?
Yeah, so I think they're amazing, and again, something that's really spoken to me about this sport is the lack of ego, and the fact that everyone just, you get this combination of pros for whom this is their full-time job, but some of the best female runners in the world are also like have full-time jobs as A&E doctors or teachers or social workers. And I just, I'm really, really happy that there's as many documentaries and as much content around females as there are males, because I think that's one of the reasons why that got me so excited, because I could see these women just for the love of it, and really they all seem so humble. They're all just, this is a privilege. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. They see it as an adventure. They are really curious around what their body and mind can do. They're really open and honest about their struggles or their challenges or overcoming injury and how to come back from that. They really share kind of their like if they have a DNF, the way that they share about that, it is so sorry, yes. DNF is did not finish. So if you don't get to the finish line of an ultra, it's classed as a DNF. Um, and
Shit, my mic was, but that's okay. That's okay. My mic was not on. I'm gonna edit anyway, so it's fine.
okay,
Sorry,
that's
continue.
all right. And they really share very openly about the emotional process of that and what goes through their mind and their heart. And it's no one sees themselves, no one in this sport that I've come across, particularly of the elites, paints themselves in any way as the finished picture. They all understand that they're a work in progress. They all understand and are really respectful of the fact that it is an ongoing learning curve and that they're figuring it out. And yes, they might have coaches or sponsors and kind of that specific support and a whole other level of lab data that your average athlete, everyday person wouldn't have, but they never take that for granted. And you can just tell that they're all in awe that this is part of their life, and they love the nature, they love the community, they're very supportive of each other. And it's these kind of things and values that really speak to me in life. Like in work, I left corporate life because I couldn't play the politics game. I couldn't compete with the egos. It wasn't me. It didn't fit. I was a square peg in a round hole, and I'm trying to rebuild work in a way that feels way more authentic to who I am and the values I live my life and how I want to show up. And the people and the women especially, but also the men from this sport that I've come across feel so grounded and human. And that really speaks to me. And that's like, this is amazing. If they're still exploring, if they're the best in the world and they're still figuring this out and exploring and having fun doing it, how cool that that's the road ahead that I've got, and that the sport still delivers that. And equally, it's helpful that it's not necessarily a young person's sport. Hopefully more young people are coming through.
More and more,
Yeah,
Like
I think it will.
if you see the starting line of the UTMB,
Yeah,
more and more young people are participating. Whereas, like when it started, like the elites, all of them were, I think, above 38 years
yeah,
old, and now like you see people that are like in their 20s.
yeah.
And but also that's something interesting that you said, like the elites and the absence of
Mm.
ego, which I
Mhm.
think makes sense also because even within the elite for the UTMB,
Mhm.
they had 40% of DNF,
Mm.
which tell
Wow.
you how
Wow.
crazy hard
Yeah.
a race like this is. Like
Yeah.
even if you're elite, you have the coach, you have the sponsors, there is no guarantee that you can finish it. And
No
sometimes
guarantee.
things can go wrong unexpectedly.
Yeah.
So yeah, you better not have an ego, because if you tell everyone, "Yeah, I'm gonna finish and do a time," and then I
Yeah.
quit.
I think nature and the trails will humble you immediately.
For sure. All right, last question, Amy. What is the next challenge then?
That's another 100K in 3.5 weeks' time, which is only 5 months after the Azores. And I'm nervous and I'm excited and I'm scared.
Well, good luck for it. I'm sure you're gonna crush it and finish this time. Well,
Thank you.
I'm sure. We never sure, but I hope you do. You're gonna.
I'll give it my best shot.
All right. Well, thank you, Amy. I hope you had a good time.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for watching it. As always, if you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe to it. If you have a comment, please let me know, because as you see, this is homemade, so I have room to improve. So please tell me. And well, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I see you next week. Bye bye.